handed it to you.
Where? It's right there.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, there's one thing that I know how to do, but I want to go over.
Okay, so we're going to start out in chapter 1. We're going to work through them today and next class. I am recording. Remember, it's open notes, so if you're not taking notes,
You're stupid.
I didn't say that.
I did.
Say something.
I said something.
It would not be nice. And recording. Okay, so we'll start out with this self-assessment. We're only going to look at your block as we go through here. Now, a lot of these ones on chapter 1 and chapter 2 really are covered in chapter 4, right? Because chapter 1 and chapter 2 are introductions to the computer, and chapter 4 is a lot more about the computer. I'm looking for my pen. I can't find it anywhere. Anybody see my pen? Pen? Give me a pen.
No.
Give me a pen. Anyone?
Oh, that thing right in put this bag?
A silver pen? I don't see it up there. Yeah, it's
There
on my
it
desk.
is.
It's on my desk. I got it. Okay, so we solved the problem by making sure we're connected here. That brings up the problem of what's going on down in Apex that's make it not connect right, because they're definitely not connected. Okay, so basic things to make PC work. Everyone that answered it said they understand that. Input output devices, what are the two primary... Did not read the directions. No, I didn't need this. I wanted a full-size one. And I paid for next day air for the wrong thing. It might fit. It might fit. This is to be able to remove and put in solid-state drives into the middle server so I can swap them out easier. But I wanted it to take 2 solid-state drives and fit into a full-size bay, not a 5 1/4. I don't know if it has a 5 1/4. It might have it. I mean, no, it's going to be 3.5. Anyway, okay. 2 primary input devices are they? Keyboard and mouse output devices are they? Fax machine. Monitor, printer and monitor. Why would you listen to him? Okay. Difference between hardware and software. Somebody said they remember hardware stuff I can.
Hardware you can touch it.
Touch. Software is the stuff that runs inside the hardware. Of the hardware, our primary piece, our software, our primary piece of software, this is chapter 2, I'm one ahead, is the what? Primary biggest piece of software that we use, that we save in our secondary storage is the operating system, right, the operating system. And the software that makes hardware work are called device drivers, okay? So if I boot up this machine and it looks real funny, the video's all distorted or whatever, well, the video card probably works, but I don't have the right device driver for it, okay? I'm so hungry right now. Okay, so hardware, CPU, we know what that stands for. The basic function of the motherboard is to house the CPU and let everything talk to it. If the CPU's the brains, nothing does anything without the brain, okay? That's why some people can barely walk. Damn, I'm just kidding. So everything, the purpose of all those parts is to do specific things. The primary purpose of the motherboard is that I'm talk to the brain, the CPU, so to do stuff. Primary storage, primary to the CPU.
Yeah.
Primary storage for the CPU is RAM and another kind of RAM, system memory and cache. Okay, CPU. It's all memory. Okay, but the primary storage is the system memory, which we typically refer to as RAM, and the CPU memory, which we now know from chapter 4 is cache. There's the 2 primary storage, secondary storage, hard drives, CD-ROMs, flash drives, anything else I can say stuff to. Okay, we know what expansion cards are. Power supply, subject to chapter 3, so we'll just go ahead and pass that one. Do we know what the basic parts are, memory, socket stuff? You will, on this test, which you did not on the last test because I forgot to add the question, have a question that looks like these. I'm off on my button just a little bit. There we go. It looks like looking for the picture I'm looking for and I'm not seeing it, so I'll just use this one. Close enough. It's going to look like this. and it's going to have an A. It's going to probably use this part of the picture. It's going to say A, B, and C, and you must be able to identify that this is a PCI, this is a PCIe 16, and this is a PCIe 1. Could this be a PCIe 8?
No.
Yes, you don't know. They're exactly the same size. Okay, X16s and X8s are the exactly same size. 4 is smaller, 2 is smaller, 1 is the little tiniest one that you can get.
What do you mean?
Okay, the difference between X1 and X16 is
No, the expansion capabilities.
in speed is
Times 16.
16 times faster. Okay, so just so you know, this is a PCI X16 video card. This is a PCI X16 video card cut down to PCI X1 size. Does it work?
Oh, it's a little milk.
Yes, it works perfectly fine. Guess what? It's 16 times slower. Okay?
Wait, isn't the PCI X1 though faster than the just PCI?
Yes, that is faster than that. That's why those came out.
Yeah, that's
Okay?
why it's an expansion.
PCIe is faster than standard PCI. Okay? But the difference is this will work right here. In fact, it does. We've got it running over in Mr. Studebaker's room right now. I can pop it in and show you.
Let me take it.
Use my Dremel tool to cut that down. This one I'm going to throw away though, because for some reason the fan doesn't work anymore. So I probably cut a little too much of something when I was cutting it with my Dremel tool. Okay, but you must be able to identify the difference between these three things. You will have a matching on the final exam with that. I meant to put it on our other test, but I didn't get it done in time. Okay. So, can you look at the motherboard and know the basic parts? Who said no? I'm not going to, you don't have to raise your hand. You should be able to identify the things that you identify in Chapter 4 test, okay? And if you said no, then you haven't done the practice test because, you know what, there was a direct correlation, and I'm not going to go to grades on this. There was a direct correlation between who took, I'm not on Chapter 4, who took this practice test and who did the best on this test. Amazingly enough, there was a direct correlation because if you did the practice test, you already saw the questions.
I got an 98 at the end.
Okay. But most people that did this did better on this. That was the point of the practice test. Okay? So if you have a problem with that one, you should look at the practice test. You can take that as many times as you want to. Take it 5 many times if you want to. There's not even a delay between them. So you can keep guessing and guessing and guessing until you get it right. And you should save that. Okay? So back to where we were. Yes, sir. What can we do for you?
Tell them I have food.
No, I didn't tell them you have food.
Usually people
They're just all hungry and they're begging.
Why'd they ask me as soon as I walked in?
Because they asked me as soon as I walked in.
Last time we stole your
Maybe
Pop-Tarts.
I'll have food next
Who
week.
stole
I have
my
candy
Pop-Tarts?
bars for everyone next week.
For everyone that got an A on the test.
You guys stole my Pop-Tarts?
Nobody stole your
No, we didn't. I didn't
Although
steal
if
them.
I had seen one, I would have stolen it. Okay, so let's finish working our way through here. So you should be able to identify those things. Okay, you should be able to match the CPU. Am I in the wrong chapter? Oh, in the wrong chapter. I just switched to chapter 1, or from 1 to 4.
We're on
There we go.
4.
Yeah, we're on 1. Okay, what we skipped that one. If you don't know this, you need to look through those things we did in chapter 4. You need to be able to identify readily, is it an AMD or a CPU socket? AMD sockets have the little hook, Intel sockets have the little hook for LGA, AMD do not. AMD or PGA, Intel or LGA sockets, okay? Should be able to know which ones the memory slots are. People got some of those wrong. One of the ones that people got wrong on that test, which I can't go over and show you all the pictures like I'd like to, because some people haven't taken the test yet, but I can look at the back of this
We've all
one.
taken the test.
Did everybody take it?
Yeah, we're
Everybody
all
take
taking
it?
the test.
Oh, okay, everybody's taking the test, so I'm thinking the other class has
I mean, not Garrett, but pretty sure he doesn't need it.
well, then I'll just bring it up. The question that I'm talking about on here is on.
Any of us got a better grade than you. That's what the first bar was set. I'm writing for the next bar. 98.
And it was fill in the blank one. This one was supposed to be easy, but some people didn't Google anything. How mmany RJ45 ports does it have? First of all, I have to know what RJ45 port is, so I Google RJ45, since it's Ethernet. and boom, there's two of them.
I didn't even Google it, but in one of your other pictures, it had like it showed that was the RJ45.
You didn't know you could use internet.
Somebody put 6.
That wasn't in this
Oh,
class.
Oh.
What is this 6?
There isn't even 6 of anything because there's 8 USB.
Maybe they meant the little audio.
I don't know.
Technically, you could have 6.
Well, not on there. You can't. There's not 6 on
You
there.
plug in a USB to RJ45.
Now see, here's an interesting motherboard, by the way. This motherboard, see how it has no slot on the back of that?
Yeah.
That's so that any PCI Express would fit in there. And that's also so when Mr. Poole tries the Dremel tool at opening up the back of the slot and ruins 2 motherboards in a row, that doesn't happen. But I did try. So, I just shaved off the metal connections. I made the slot, then I was trying to make it a little bigger, and then all of a sudden there was no metal connections left. So not so good. That one almost. Okay, so I guess that was the other class. Now when they watch the video, they'll be like, no, that's ridiculous. Okay, so I should be able to identify those things. If there are things you can't identify, look at some motherboard pictures. There's all kind of motherboard pictures online, by the way. If you go and Google something like
Label.
label,
What I googled during
motherboard, like that, and then you go to images, you could get a whole bunch of, I don't know what that is. Oh my gosh, look, I could just click on this one, and now I know which one is which.
Northbridge with heatsink.
Okay.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's not what I wanted though.
Pop quiz, what's it for?
It's 3.5. Could you go look at it and see, is there a 3.5 inch bay on that?
You don't want it for the
Got it at $6.
He goes,
to you.
he goes.
I'm not giving it to you.
I'll take it.
Okay. Explain what BIOS and ROM BIOS are. We had a number of people get that question wrong. Just as a real quick refresher. Okay. First of all, BIOS is what? BIOS
program
is what?
that
BIOS is a
loads
program.
it, yeah.
BIOS is a program. Stands for
Basic input output.
Basic Input Output System. Okay. The program BIOS is stored in RAM or ROM.
Wrong.
ROM. It's stored in ROM. The program is stored in ROM on a BIOS ROM chip. On a ROM chip that does not go away when we lose power. The settings we make, the configuration we do, is stored in RAM. It's stored in CMOS RAM. That's where that configuration is stored in CMOS RAM. It will go away
Why
if the
is
battery's
there a
back.
CMOS ring?
The configuration and any settings we make in BIOS, like the time and the date, and whether we want it to auto start, and whether there's a password, all those things are stored in CMOS RAM, and they're stored there and held there by the CMOS
Battery. I
battery.
didn't know if you were asking this.
Okay. It's what the pregnant pause is for. It's stored there and held there by the CMOS battery. If I take out the battery, I lose those configuration settings whenever I turn off the power. Okay? So every single time my computer restarts, it might say system battery low or something like that to let me know that that battery's low. Okay? Just did that. How do I get into BIOS? What are the prevalent keys to get into BIOS? F1, F2, delete. Okay? Anybody remember what the key is for it? Does it have one?
F10.
It's not being used, or if it is, I don't care.
That drive and a blank one.
Oh, there's an empty one that I can just put it in? Okay. Don't break it. We're going to put it in there. Oh, you're leaving, aren't you?
Where you
Forgot.
going? Where you going? No.
Christmas party or something. I don't know what it's
Cool.
Okay, number 2. Let's go to chapter number 2 about software. Use BIOS to configure a PC. Obviously, we can't do that. You have to get into the BIOS and you have to read it to do a BIOS. There's no way for me to tell you which ones, okay? Biggest program that we have is the operating system. That allows us the ability to interact with our hardware and run programs, okay? In general, it has a GUI, which stands for Graphical User Interface. It's the Windows 7 screen we see, okay? The OS uses BIOS information, the configuration, that's how it knows what's in the computer. What are you doing?
It's window here.
Hey, he's not students.
It's John. It's staff.
We're trying to take
What?
Yeah, why would you want to wear one of those little kneecaps?
Yeah, how do we
Because you can't tell Fool what to do.
Moved into the shooting.
He wasn't wearing one for
It's on the
shooting.
handle over there on the door.
see my Photoshop mastery skills here?
Please show Garrett that. Really?
I do. Just hang it in there other room. Okay, so we should understand what the boot sequence is. That should be in our notes. If you're not in your notes, I'm going to just say go back to the chapter and make sure it's in your notes. Okay, because I'm not going to. That's too much time to go through that. How does ROM BIOS find the OS? It looks in the configuration file in CMOS RAM. Okay, so chapter 3 is the one that is going to give you most the heartache because it was the hardest of the chapters that we didn't just go over. Okay. I should be able to understand what a volt, amp, and a watt are. You guys say you do?
See, I thought this was the easiest of the chapters.
Good.
Besides, I want to go.
You're going to have to be able to calculate.
Calculate.
You're going to have to be able to calculate. You're going to have to remember those things, okay? AC versus DC. AC is what comes out of the wall. It's transmitted over farther distances more efficiently. DC power is what electronics uses. It's a steady power, okay? AC oscillates at 60 hertz, 60 oscillations per second. DC does not oscillate at all. It's nice and steady. I lost my egg. Okay, let's talk about explaining how to do voltage problems. Okay, so when we look at our voltage problems, the first thing we need to know is we got some numbers that I'm going to ask you about. The first one is calculated. That, hopefully, is the hardest part for you. Because then we get the minimum, which is what I said is rounded up to the next 50.
And then you go to that.
And then we add 50 for what we're saying is our recommended. So this is min and recommended. Okay, and this is calculated. So if you calculate 298 max, the minimum would be. Is your name Max? The minimum max would be 300, and the recommended would be max 350. Okay, so I can ask you any one of those questions. Pay attention to which one I'm asking you. Okay, when you go to the questions and I say, I've calculated that I need a 275 watt power supply. Does this one meet my recommended settings? And I show you one that's 300. The answer is no, because it would have to be, I guess 350 or more. Okay? So if I tell you the calculated, I'm trying to shorten up the problem for you. I tell you the calculated, and then I ask you, whoop, go to this website, is this power supply meet my purchase requirements?
Yes.
Okay, and that means recommended. If I'm going to purchase it, I want it to have that or more. Okay? So, I'm going to give you some different calculations than you've had before. Okay? Because now you know stuff. Okay? So I'm going to give you a chart like I did before. You're going to have a chart like you had before with stuff on it. With numbers. I'm going to say, I'm building this. And I'm going to give you a list of stuff like I did before. This is what's on there. Or I'll give you a link to a site. Okay? The one thing that's not going to be on the chart this time is the CPU wattage.
Because you want to do the exact one.
Because I want you to do the exact one for the. Because you know what? Memory all uses about the same amount of power.
But we'll have a link to
Motherboards
a
use
CPU.
about the same amount of power. The two things in your computer that change the most on how much. Yeah, no, you're going to have to Google it. The two things they're going to use that change the most are the video card and the CPU. Those two things use the most. So
you're gonna have to Google our own
you're
CPU.
gonna have to Google your own CPU. So if I send you to a site, and here we go. I got a Newegg PC, and I send you to this site. We're gonna just pick one. We'll go right there to that one, and it's not gonna work because it's a Google ad. So why did I even click on it? I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna go. We're gonna do this one. Okay.
That's
Okay,
$550.
so I gave you, I'm going to buy this PC. Does it meet the recommended requirements for a power supply given this chart and the CPU that it has? So the chart's going to have everything but the CPU because you guys know CPUs now. So I'm going to expect you guys to go and say, oh, it's got the Intel Core i5 460. And I'm going to expect you to go, and find
And then die.
So I'm gonna go right here.
Why is it called a building if it's already
What?
built? Why is it called a building if it's already built?
I don't know what you're saying.
Because you said I'm building this PC and you're
No, I'm buying. Did I say building?
Just like a, he's asking you a legitimate, like, you know what building? Like
Did it have it on this one?
like a,
Doesn't
like
have it
an
on this
office
one.
building? What do they call that? Does it build?
Is the S or the C sound?
Do I see it? Do I see it? Shh.
Go to the Intel stuff.
C and then.
I was going to, but when we were looking the other day, all of them had it on there, but it's not. So I think I'm gonna have to
Oh no.
see if the install site shows the wattage. There we go. 84 watts. Okay. So when you fill it out, you're gonna have to figure. Well, it's the only thing that shows wattage, so I'm gonna use that one.
What's TDPs do?
I have no idea. Anybody know?
The total
I thought you-
decimation progress.
Thermal
Design
design power represents the average power in watts the processor dissipates when operating at base frequency with all cores active under an Intel-defined high complexity workload. So it's
He likes
saying,
them.
on average, it's going to use 84 watts.
It's weird because it's
Okay. Because that's what they came up with. So it's going. My chart is going to be like the one you've had before. Okay, like but not. Okay, so when I go and look at this chart, we'll go ahead and pull up the power chart. And it's going to be just like this one. However, you are not going to have this whole section right here is going to be gone. That section is not going to be on the chart. So you're going to have to remember to find the CPU. Now, motherboards really do not fluctuate a ton. It's what's on the motherboard that makes a difference. It might be a little different, but it's not going to fluctuate a ton. The CPU is going to make a big difference. And when we get to video card for the final exam, that's going to make a big difference. But you guys haven't done video cards yet, so we're just going to use hey, use this, this, or this. Okay? It could actually be far more than that, and I'm not going to waste the time showing you video cards, but it could pull way more than 120 watts for a good video card.
See, I think what I got lost to was like memory. I never know how many sticks to put.
Okay.
Because like
How many sticks does it
the way that you were explaining it, it seems like on some of them there could be.
Well, let's go to this one for instance. Let's go to this one for instance and see how specific it says the memory is. And this one stinks, right?
Memory,
It just
8
says
gigabytes,
8 gig DDR3 60.
That's how a lot of them say. So I've never.
And that could be, no, that would be.
I will try to make sure I get you
4
ones
sticks.
that say it could be 4 sticks of 2. That's very unlikely, I think.
But it can.
It's going to probably be 2 4s. It's more expensive right now to buy 4 2s than it is to get 2 4s. Not to mention the fact, I don't know this motherboard. I would have to look and see. This motherboard might only have, and it does it even say, let's see, model. Blah, blah,
I think you
blah.
should take 2 inserts.
Oh, and we're done.
Okay. Great.
Continue the discussion.